Okay, so we've got Joseph Stalin and Harry Truman, and this little thing called the Potsdam Conference. So they're all like sitting at a table, and Stalin's all like,
Germany screw with their own country.
and wanted to make Germany pay for their being jerks and stuff. But Truman and his buddies are all, but they're all poor and stuff, and we need to help them. So they end up splitting Germany into 4 zones and stuff. But Stalin had all these countries, and he took over during the war and wanted to keep them because he worked really hard for them and stuff. So then you've got this Iron Curtain thingy, but it really wasn't a curtain or anything. It was just the splitting of communist and capitalist countries. So then Truman comes up with this thing called containment. But he thought that that sounded too mean and stuff. So he basically said,
I'll protect the world from the mean communist.
So meanwhile, while you got all this stuff happening, Greece isn't too happy with the government. So they rebel against it. So Truman's are like, oh no! And sends aid to Greece. And they win. And then also comes up with the thing he called the Marshall Plan and gives a lot of money to Western Europe.
Money, money, money!
So Stalin gets really mad and stuff and blocks all shipment to Western Germany. So after that, Truman and his buddies formed this club called We Hate the Communist Club, but he thought NATO sounded cooler. So then Stalin and his communist buddies form a communist club, but Stalin dies a couple of years later anyway. Meanwhile, China's having some problems of their own. There's this guy named Neo, and he's all for communism and stuff.
I will make China communist. Hyundai Kawasaki.
But the other people didn't want it, so there was like a lot of fighting and stuff.
Asian.
So Truman sent China a lot of money to buy guns and stuff, and weapons and bombs, but the commies won anyway. So they're not far away. North Korea's like,
I'm going to whoop South Korea.
so then North Korea invades South Korea, and Truman gets all mad and stuff.
That's not fair!
So he sends aid to the South, but it's like back and forth for like 3 years until Truman retires and this bald dude named Eisenhower becomes president and says,
This wall is pedonculous!
and ends it. Meanwhile, back in the US, there's this dude named McCarthy, and he's accusing everyone of being communist,
You're a communist, I know it!
he says. But nobody liked him anyway. So while the US and Russia were having competitions to see who could blow up stuff better, Russia launches a satellite into space, and the US gets real mad and does something. So then you got all this stuff going on in Egypt, and a couple years later, Kennedy becomes president. And the Berlin Wall goes up, and this hairy dude named Fidel becomes leader of Cuba. So while Kennedy and his buddies are all partying up in the US, Fidel and his communist buddies are all like,
Hey man, let's go buy some missiles!
so then they build a bunch of missile sites and stuff, and the US finds out, and Kennedy's like,
We must take action.
so then he sends a huge blockade, like a gnarly blockade.
Castro, I demand the missile sites demolished.
What you gonna do about it, man?
I'm gonna send a naval blockade and destroy Cuba.
And then Fidel gets all scared, and he's all like,
Oh, okay, man. Have it your way like Burger King.
and everybody who loved Kennedy because he stopped the world from being blown up and partied and stuff, the end.